Good evening and welcome. Sorry we're a little late. We had a weird technical difficulty, but welcome to the shop tonight. I am excited to have you here visiting with me. But tonight, we're going to talk about unfinished or putting the finishing touches on pieces that are so close, but not quite there. So those little things we do to enhance the piece right before delivery, before it's ready to go. That set it apart. You can make that little difference. So anyway, if you're new to this channel, I'm Tom McLaughlin, and this is Epic Woodworking, where together we get to the heart of woodworking. And tonight I want to talk about some different types of polishes and things like that. But also I want to mention that if you find value in this, if you enjoy this, go ahead and subscribe and share and like and all that stuff. Thank you all for really supporting the video we made last week, the crosscut sled, and then we did a follow-up with a 21-minute video called the 3-cup method. If you haven't seen it yet, you can search the 3-cut method, or we could put a link, I guess, to it. But that's been really taken off, and so I appreciate all that. And if you haven't, and you could share it on other platforms, like in Facebook or wherever, to your friends, like if you got value out of that, why not share it and let others enjoy it as well? So thank you for doing that if you did. So anyway, I'm excited tonight because I'm getting some things done. That doesn't come easy. It feels like so often in the shop, you're just plodding along, you got a lot of parts, and even when you get to the end, you might be fussy about it and feel like it's like that book, you just don't think you've ever got it written right. And there's something about it you wish you changed. You got to get it done. Well, tonight I'm going to show you some of the things I do to get it done and to let go and let it go out the door. Now, I've been in kind of a weird phase personally the last couple years. It's been a strange transition to teaching more full-time. It's since, since doing the show and then doing this, and I'm getting backed up with projects, and I'm going to talk a little more about that later, but it gets challenging sometimes when you're making multiples and then you're trying to design a new thing, and you're excited about that to finish the previous thing. And we've joked around a little bit about that, right? We were joking about not going to the next project until you finish the one you're working on. That's a rule. Right, Dean? That's a rule. I love that rule. But when you're teaching and you're making multiples, I'm having issues, But anyway, I wanted to show you the finishing touches I put on the low pencil post bed that we built recently. If you hadn't seen that video, it's there. And you can link and watch that whole course that we did on building the low post bed. But this is it right here. This is the final. I've got the final finish on there. Huh? How's that look?
Very nice.
You like it?
I do.
All right. I guess we'll keep it then. Well, actually, this is the one that the lucky winner, Brian, got in Georgia. And if you're watching tonight, Brian, I got it done. It's ready for pickup. All right, so
awesome.
But there's a few little things I like to do at the end. Now, I'm going to show you how I treat a couple different finishes.
You said Brian, right?
Yeah, I said Brian.
Okay, sorry, I thought you said Ryan.
Oh, Brian, yeah. Ryan's
getting the table.
Correct. Yeah, I'm going to show that in a little bit. Yeah. So,
Brian and Ryan.
What I used to finish this bed was satin water lock. So I thinned it down 20%, and I put on 3 thin coats. Now, you can start with less expensive, and it is advisable actually to use a finish that has no flattening agents in it, like when you have a satin finish. They add these flattening agents, which are like stearates. They're meant to reflect light or disperse light. So they're like tiny crystalline things in the finish, so when the light hits it, rather than you seeing a pure reflection, those little crystallite things will diffuse the light. So, but they also leave a very slight opacity. How's that for a word? Like being opaque? I think that's a word, right? Someone check me on that. But that can look a little cloudy. Now, I put such thin amount on here that I thinned it down 20%, and I was just barely wiping it on. So I'm very happy and pleased with it here. But when you use the waterlock satin as your top coat, one of the things I love about it is that it rubs out so beautifully, and it doesn't require the labor-intensive buffing and rubbing out to adjust the sheen or to brighten the sheen up. So here I've got a satin finish right off the pad. Like all I do is I take paper towel. I mean, you can use, ideally it'd be lint-free, but I don't seem to have many problems with this, but they have those boxer rag things that if you see that they're lint-free, you can dab it in your finish, and then I'm just like wiping it on. And it was pretty fast. And then the beauty of this finish is that it looks perfectly laid out. And it is, because you're just wetting the surface. So it has a really nice sheen to it. I don't know if that light's going to do it justice, but we've got so much light in here, I don't think you're seeing the full color. Are you seeing the sheen at all? Mm-hmm. So right off the rag, it's really nice, but there's one final thing you have to do. If you run your hand across, you can feel these little tiny dust nibs. It's not like, say, sometimes if you've brushed on a varnish, like you'll come back the next morning and the worst case is if a bug flew into it, and then he's like a big bump on your finish. Or you notice one of the bristles of the brush is laying in the finish. Or you have like a speck of dust that you didn't see it, but it fell on there and it was so big that it's a big bump. I'm not talking about that. I had none of those large nibs, they often call them. They're very small here. But there is a very slight roughness to the surface. So if you just take I usually use like 1200 grit wet dry paper, and you just very lightly go over the surface. Now you can use anything from 12, this is actually 1500 to 2000, but the higher the number, the faster it kind of clogs up. So, but this won't leave any scratches that are noticeable at all on this sheen. So I can feel where I just didn't hit it right here. And I'm just running my other hand just to see that. And I'm telling you, it is silky smooth. It really is. And that feels awesome. I didn't hit this rail either. I can feel. But the beauty of this is all you have to do. It's not like a shellac finish that a lot of time, what I like to do there is I have to rub out the whole thing with steel wool. I'll show you just a little bit of that. And then wax. But with this, it's a simple knock it down with some very fine sandpaper. And that's it. It's so easy. And I love how this stuff dries too. It is kind of pricey. So if you want to go the Waterlocks route, what I usually do is buy it in the 32-ounce quart can, and then I subdivide it into little 4-ounce jars like this. So you can get these are canning jars, and you can fill them right up, like stir it up nicely, and then you can ladle it into each jar and get up to the top and then tighten it down. By leaving no air in there, now you've preserved your finish so that you can just work out of one jar at a time, and then you don't have all that oxygen and you won't lose your whole can. So, because it is a little expensive, but it goes a long way. So if you wanted to go even further, you could apply your first coats could be like Danish oil, which has a little more clarity than the satin. And you could put a couple, build that till you get it where you want. And then you can make your last coat the satin Waterlocks, which will go right over it. Now there are other finishes we've talked about in other times. But when it comes to varnishes, you tend to find one in that category that really works, and that's always worked really well for me. Some of you can chime in about what you found to be your favorite. I know General Finishes has some nice ones, but this has a really nice durability and water resistance as well, without the urethanes being in it. It's a tung oil. It's a polymerized tung oil. So the urethanes are fine. You just don't want, to get the really nice appearance, you don't want a high concentration of urethane in it, or it starts to look plasticky.
I have some questions. Are you okay to answer?
Sure.
Kay Wick is asking, what did you use to thin down the Waterlocks? Did you say that yet?
I don't think I did. Well, Waterlocks is mineral spirits soluble. So paint thinner, mineral spirits, I just thinned it with that. So I poured the whole can in a larger container, and then after I've stirred it up nicely, and then I added, let's see, so 32 ounces, you'd add 20% of that is 6.4 ounces. Is that right? You could add about 6 ounces and you'll be there. So the thing about Waterlocks is you can thin it way out. You can thin it half and half. So what you're wiping on just feels like water almost. But that will actually build. It'll just take a lot more coats. Now you also can buy the Waterlocks Original, which has a medium sheen and greater clarity than the satin. So if you want this satin final that doesn't require the rub out, but you want to make sure you got the clarity, then you can use Waterlocks Original. But again, that's going to be pricey as your undercoat when you can use something like Danish oil as well.
How durable do you think, Warren's asking, how durable is Waterlocks?
Who is that, Warren?
Warren?
Warren? It's really durable. I'll show you in a second. A table that I've had for a long time next to my bed and have left many summer nights a glass of cold water there that ended up having, the huge water ring around it in the morning and never had any kind of water rings.
I can testify to that. Dean's asking, he wonders if microfiber rags would work.
Well, yes, Dean. I believe microfiber rags would work quite well. But you want to have, I'm not familiar with how micro they get, but you want something in around, at least I would say 1,000 grit or up, because if you get too low, I have used 800, but you may risk starting to see a scratch pattern on the surface, which will further dull the appearance. Okay, so you're just trying to knock off the bumps with minimal effect to the sheen that you have there. But I'm telling you, this feels beautiful, like I did rub it out. So I've got the benefit of that nice satin sheen with very little labor.
Have you ever used the Waterlocks water-based formula, Michael's asking?
I have not, Michael. I would like a report on that, though.
How about Mohawk wool lube?
Oh, yeah. That goes back. Wow. We used to use that at Pugs 30 years ago. But that's nice when you're going to rub out with steel wool. So we don't want to use steel wool on this. If you use steel wool on this, you're going to brighten the sheen because it's an abrasive, and you'll be like polishing, or it's almost like using a rubbing compound. So now you're going to change the sheen, because I could rub this with steel wool and then burnish it, and it would be a little shinier. I don't really want to do that. I want to keep it here. So I'll show you in a minute, but wool lube is simply that. It's just like a lubricant. It's like a soapy kind of lubricant that you can use with steel wool, and it just helps get a more even scratch pattern.
Do you use any kind of lube, Chris is asking?
Not for this. And even when I rub out with steel wool, I usually don't, because I don't need to. Once I'm done, I hit it with wax, the sheen comes up. And sometimes when you're using wool lube or another kind of, what would you call that? Some kind of lubricant that is assisting in the pad rub out, when you use it, you can't see where you've hit and how even it looks. So you're kind of relying until then you wipe it down. You got to dry the surface before you'll see where you've been and how even it looks. But it can work really well. And yeah, so.
I think my mic batteries,
Can no one hear you?
they're having trouble hearing me.
Or maybe you're
Do you
not
want to take a
talking
second
loud.
and replace my battery?
Where are the batteries?
Right on top of the roller there. You'll see it.
Okay.
Sorry, gang. I'm also trying to go through.
Look how prepared.
I'm trying to
she is
go
with the
through
battery.
all of the questions here. So maybe while you're doing this for me, we can ask another one.
Okay.
Wait, it's working. It's working right now. So
But
don't
it's
try.
red.
Don't change it.
But it's got a red.
Sorry, this is so domestic.
You may not be talking as into it as much as you think. Here we go.
Okay, Tom.
Yes, I'm listening.
Forgive us, please, this night is a little bit chaotic here. Have you ever tried stop-loss bags for storing
Hold it,
finishes?
hold it. Okay, now you're on. Do that again.
Have you ever tried stop-loss bags for storing finishes?
Oh, not that particular product. Who asked that?
Stephen.
Hey, Steve. No, I have not used that particular product, but I've used some really other methods. We've talked about this one time because you hate to lose a really high-value finish like that because it oxidizes in the can or whatever. So the main enemy is oxygen. So yeah, sometimes I've used these bottles that would compress. They were round, but they were like an accordion. So as you use it, you just squished it more and more, and it got shorter and shorter. And that was fine, but it did cure in there, and it was a mess. I mean, you can imagine. You can't get it out of the accordion grooves. So it was a one-use type thing. I find these bottles are awesome because you can reuse them. When you get down to the end, you can clean it out with little mineral spirits, and they're very inexpensive. So you can buy a case of canning jars for very little and get the smaller ones. So you only use a little bit at a time. I could go over this whole bed with, half of that 4 ounce, so 2 ounce of that cut waterlock. So
Can you combine water locks with stain?
I've not done that. But I'm sure you can. You can, with a soluble, it would have to be an oil-soluble stain. So I'd be careful about that. But if you did, you'd have to dissolve it first in a little mineral spirits. And usually I would use like an oil-soluble aniline dye or something like that. I'm not sure, somebody can correct me on this, that the trans tints work with oil-based finishes. They don't dissolve in the oil base, but I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I am. So you need an oil-soluble colorant. I'm
Okay.
usually coloring the wood first. I like to have control about that rather than trying to do this one step fits all. Maybe as a little toner, if you want to push the color one way or the other, it's useful if you can tint your finish. So I'll often do that. You can even use trans tint, like a drop or two. I'm always doing that with shellac when I'm spraying or whatever. But when you're wiping on, it's harder to wipe on an even coat. So you got to think about that too when you're pushing a color on the oil. It's a little more, it's better to color the wood where you want and then apply your top coats. It's much, much simpler.
Okay. Steve's asking, same process for shellac?
What? Oh, with the rub
That you've
out?
gone through here?
No, I'm going to show you a different process in a minute.
Okay. And I wanted to answer, there was a question here about a finishing course. Tom did do a finishing course. It's available at our website, epicwoodworking.com/online-courses. You can see it there.
It was a
It's
good
full
crash
6 hours,
course overview.
6 hours of,
Yeah, even at 6 hours, but it's a good overview of all the different finishes and not all of them, but stains and why they work the way they work and different types of top coats. So
and you'll find that link is below in the description. You can read down there. So
yeah, if you
don't
want to check it
remember what
out.
I just said, there it is. Okay, I think
All right.
we are caught up on the questions. Thanks, guys.
So when you got a satin finish like this, if you wanted to bring the sheen up a little bit without steel wool, you can use, believe it or not, just a paper towel. Now I'm on the back of the headboard. I don't even think this will show up hardly. But if you just burnish with the paper towel, like I can see in the light, now you're not going to be able to pick this up, it's a little brighter there. But what I usually do is just use a polish as the final hit. So polishes will just freshen and they give you the full color depth. Like if you've rubbed out a finish, they just kind of flow into all the little fissures, like I'm talking micro, and it gives you a really rich final appearance. The beeswax type oil, like this one, this is lemon oil and beeswax, Goddard's Cabinet Maker's Wax. And this one is Guardsman, and it is clean anytime. We put links to these in the description. It's that little arrow you click, which I'm just figuring out.
We haven't yet, but we will.
Oh, we will. Sorry. So anyway, I like these polishes because they don't leave like a high oily finish. Like this is nice, this Old English lemon oil. You may have seen this, but it feels it's a little smeary, and it leaves too much of an oil residue on there for me. Now the times I use these kinds of polishes, this comes up a lot, is on flat surfaces or something you just want to quickly freshen up. But I won't use paste wax on large surfaces like this because paste wax, like this one, or butcher's wax, or this is brie wax, or anything, are difficult because they dry fairly quickly. They're difficult to burnish out without any streaking. And you don't get any of that with this. And it's so easy, just like that.
David was suggesting maybe putting a regular piece of cherry next to it would allow them to see the distinctive difference. I don't know.
Oh, I'm going to put it
Unfinished?
next. I'll put it next to something else in a
I
second.
think that's what you said, David.
Yeah. So I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but it's not. This doesn't do a whole lot to this, but it will do more to this other furniture I'll show you. But that's just how I apply it. Very simple. And once it dries out a little bit, what I love about this is it doesn't leave. It looks nice. It actually did make it a little bit, tiny bit shinier. But this is a nice treatment. It's inexpensive. It's only about $7 for a spray bottle, and it goes a long way. And the nice thing about it too, it has no silicones in it. They say it's got UV sunblock. Protects wood from discoloration. That's hard to believe. If you have a piece in the sunny window, I'm a skeptic. The sun is tough on a lot of furniture, but maybe it does do something. So, but it does use no silicone. So you never want any kind of silicones on your furniture because it totally messes with refinishing. And anyway,
Is that something for everyday dusting? Brandon's asking. Is that something?
Yeah, you could use it.
Or what else would you?
I don't use it for my everyday dusting.
Oh,
my
gosh.
every year dusting.
This is going to be one of those vacuum conversations.
No. I use it for my every other week dusting. No, actually, yeah, it would, just try it. I mean, it's inexpensive. You'll like what it does to it does clean it a little bit. And if you could just dampen up the cloth and go over, and you're going to see a beautiful kind of sheen come alive on the piece. Like this is looking sweet right now. Now the last thing to do on this is to sign it. And that's always fun. You're done, you can sign your piece. So I'm going to sign this before. I'm going to just put it together really quick and show you how the slat system worked out if you follow that all the way. Man, the headboard looks so nice. I almost can't write into it, but this is where Pug used to always put his name. You could also write down here. I guess I could do that, and I wouldn't mess with headboard. But for old time's sake, I'm putting it right here. Pug used to put a label. Sometimes old furniture had labels, like where the maker would write in beautiful script. Like there's probably the most notable piece I made and copied like that was a John Townsend block front chest of drawers. And gosh, what was it? It was can't remember the date, but it was right around 1770. And it was a label that still was survived. So it's pretty valuable to have an existing label on an old piece like this. But I don't use the labels. I just prefer using an etcher like this. It's a very simple Dremel engraver, and I just write, and that way I feel like, hey, you're actually seeing the person's hand, even better than one of those burn-ins. But if you like those, that's too. You can use the little what do they call those things, brands, and get it made custom to you. So there's going to be a little bit of a buzz.
Are you doing that right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to do it right now.
I thought you said you were going to set it up.
All right. I'll show you what that looks like. I just take some very fine sandpaper after. Hey, you want to see this? Stay in here. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. You don't want reflection on it. Are you seeing reflection?
Not too bad.
Okay. So it's kind of rough, and then you just lightly hit it, and the dust kind of fills the scratches. So I usually write my full name and then where. And always, if you're going to do this method, it's a good idea to write the made by, because there was a lot of confusion in history, like with some pieces, there would be a name on it, and they weren't sure if it was the owner or the person who made it. So by doing that, you distinguish it for all time. So when your pieces are in museums, people can say, oh, yes, this is definitely his piece. So, and then the where in Canterbury, New Hampshire, and the year, 2020, which probably will go down as in history as what a year.
Fred's saying some time from now, kids won't be able to read the cursive.
Yeah.
Can you repeat what the name of that wax or what you used for dusting was, the name of that product?
Yeah, we're going to put a link to it in the description.
Spray wax product. Yeah.
It's but this one is Guardsman, and it's a nice spray. The one I like equally well. This is actually beeswax, so I really like this, especially on shellac finishes and stuff. You can use it, and this is Goddard's Cabinet Maker's Wax Furniture Polish. It's lemon oil and beeswax.
Okay. So
It's
we'll
awesome.
get those links in right after.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
All right, so now I'm just going to put this together, and I want to show you a couple other things, and they'll all be quick. But it's a nice night to be finishing projects, isn't it? So get over to my other section. I've got my rail here, and you may notice a change was made to this rail. Brian wanted the configuration to be without a box spring. So I added that rail with notches for the slats, and I'll show you how that looks. Now, if you wanted to build this bed, and you already got the plans, if you're interested, the plans are available on our website. But you can you'll see that there's two options for the way to configure the base, and this is how it looks when you build it without the option for a box spring. So let me get the other rail.
Tom, do you refinish the signature?
No, I just leave it like that. I just hit it with the...
Michael's saying that he knows Charles Shackleton. We've had some time with Charles and Miranda as well.
Oh, yeah?
And he says he uses only wax to finish for his heirloom furniture. Ever tried just that?
I didn't know he did that. No. I like a more protective finish. Wax is not a very protective finish. If I was going to go simple and heirloom, I think shellac is the way to go. So that's where I would be usually. But
He makes nice stuff, that's for sure.
yeah, I was looking forward to seeing him again this year if he went to the Lee Nielsen open house. That's where we met him. We ended up staying at the same bed and breakfast without knowing or having met each other, and we got talking, and I was like, "You, Charles Shackleton? The Charles Shackleton?" His ancestor actually is the Shackleton, the Antarctic explorer. So
He and his wife have a really wonderful business up there in Vermont. She does pottery, amazing pottery, Miranda. Am I saying it, Miranda? Is it
yeah, you could look it up, like Shackleton Furniture in Vermont. It's a great place to visit because there's also the pottery right there, like Miranda's pottery, and it used.
Michael, am I right? Is that?
I don't know if they still have the glass blowing thing, but they had that whole demo where you could watch people doing the whole glass blowing and the look at
That's
that.
great, Tom. It's beautiful.
Oh man,
Brian's gonna love that.
I'm telling you. So I thought I was going to use ash, but I actually had red oak, some nice oaks slats, and these are super strong. If there's any bow in them, they're barely. I'm going to put that up, but the combination of all these is pretty strong in there. And they just fit right in there nicely. Hardly any
It's great.
room on each end.
This is a twin size, Phil. Twin size bed.
Yeah. But these all together, combined with how closely spaced they are, make for a really sturdy foundation.
Is anybody making the bed out there? I know we sold lots of plans. Curious if anybody started.
I don't know. Good question.
I wouldn't say it was hordes of people, but
And the last one. That's beautiful. Now I got to get the plywood. I picked up a 1/2-inch sheet of plywood and I cut it to size. And that just goes right in there. So it's pretty close. It's a little margin for it to fit there. Let it go around. There it is.
nice.
I thought of bringing a mattress out, but I don't know. Wow, that feels so rock solid. I don't feel any flex on that at all. But there you have it. I'm going to spin it around. You can come on back over by the cart because I want to turn this so the headboard is against the black.
So pretty.
You can go right on and through there.
Okay.
I'll move the wires. Yeah, now this is the color before it's really oxidized at all and deepened in cherry color. It's got a lighter, almost like a blonde kind of color. And this is a little bit older. And this one I treated with something to keep it lighter. The client, actually it was in my family. It did belong to my mother and father. I remember when they were still living, my father wanted it lighter. So I can't remember if I slightly bleached it. I can't remember what I did, but I did hit it with something that kept it lighter. I might have gone just direct shellac, no oil at all. So if you put an oil finish on there, you're going to get a richer oxidation like this table. This is just Waterlox on there. And it's got a beautiful, rich color now. And this is my actual bedside table. So check it out. This is the shaker. Does it look familiar? I've made a lot of these shaker, but the shaker style really originated during the federal period in our country. So they were just borrowing, basically, with some of their designs from what was current, but minimalizing it. So they were using just the bare essentials, no, as they say, no superfluous additions, no decorative moldings or carvings or brass or anything like that. So that's the classic shaker look. But I had built these for classes, and I thought, I want to make it a little dressier or modify my shaker table. So I took the exact same design. It was made for shaker. Instead of putting the knob, I put a round pull, and I added a cock bead around the drawer front. See that proud little bead around there? And that you see a lot in the federal period. So it dresses up the front a little bit. And then I diminished the overhang. So you can see how this is not so much. Like most federal pieces had a very tight overhang, so not usually more than 3/4. I'm a little more than 3/4, I think. Oh, right at. So it gives a little different look. Using the exact same base, I just used some different decorative elements, using the cock beading, the different pull, and less overhang. So now it looks a little bit like a country federal piece, because a real blown out federal piece would have inlays and all kinds of stuff like that. But anyway, This, you can see, this is the table that has survived a lot of water being on it. Now it's cloudy because I just wiped it down with a rag and I hit it with some steel wool to get some of the, there's some gunk on there or whatever. So what I'm going to do is hit it with a little, I'll try the Goddards this time.
How long has it taken the cherry to come to that point?
You'll see a definitive change in just, a couple months, but then it gets to it still keeps going, it seems like. Are you seeing how look at how the polish is affecting it. Are you seeing this? So this looks kind of cloudy. This is just that beeswax. So you can see how rich that color really is. And on this one, we talked about this before, I incorporated the sapwood. So you see how the sapwood never does darken. But it looks sweet in there. It looks kind of natural. And because we kind of hid the seams well, we don't see much of that. This is the dusting I usually do to my table every Saturday. Don't you, everyone? I know there's probably some people who do, but I don't actually do that very
I was asking, would a taper on the edge of the tabletop take away from the value of the table?
A taper on the edge like an undercut bevel. I think that's what he means, like an undercut bevel on the tabletop. Who said that? What? Let me see. You sure? It could be you're not talking loud enough. Oh, it's off. Oh, yeah, it is gone. Is that a bad
Okay,
battery?
just change it. No, just change it. Sorry.
I
This
did
is
change
such a
it.
funny evening.
I changed it.
No,
Is there another one?
bottom shelf in the little blue.
Okay.
Answer, is there an overlap of time between shaker and federal silence, Stuart's asking?
Yes, Stuart. The shaker started formation in the federal period. So let me get this straight. I don't have the exact dates on my mind, but yeah, in the early 1800s. So there you go. See if they can hear you now.
Okay. You all are very kind to put up with us tonight. Okay.
It's real life.
It's the 2020 curse. Yes, I think so, Rick.
All right, so I want to show you one other type of.
Before you move on, I have a question about
Okay.
the bed. Is there any finish on the slats or the plywood?
Yeah, good question. I did just today. I just put in the spray gun some shellac, and I mixed some seal coat, which is kind of blonde shellac, and a little bit of orange. So that's why it has the amber color. If we look at the slats, I just didn't want to leave them totally unfinished, so you can see a little bit of more golden quality. But that's one coat of shellac. So this isn't going to be seen, but I just, rather than have it just be raw wood, I thought I would add to it a little bit. And I like it. So then this plywood, I just hit as well. So that's why you have kind of a light lemony color there on the plywood.
Can you just talk a little bit about how you put that bead on the drawer? How you made that happen? Is that
I'll give you the quick in a nutshell, but that's a great one for another course or time. We'll cover this, but the drawer is completely dovetailed, just like this. So the dovetailing is done like that, and then we cut. You saw into the drawer front, so there's no knob or anything. You're going to saw about 1/8 of an inch through here and here at just about the full depth, so that piece doesn't quite fall off. And then you can just score, and it comes off so that it's flush at the end. And then you add a strip right on top. You're first going to nose over the strip so that it's the proper width, and you can see right in here, that strip is glued on. That's the amount that was sawn off the front. So you're doing this after you've done the hard work of fitting the drawer front just right. And then you do the same thing on the bottom. And so those come out in this square. But actually, before you apply those, you have to cut the same groove in these two vertical ends, but not the full depth, because you want to still see your dovetail. So I'm just going, 5/16 or so, and then you have the bead. And then you make a cross cut here as well, so that you clean it up. And then you're going to then I just hand chop a miter into the long ones, and then you cut your miters and you fit that end piece in. Squeeze it right in there. If you undercut it, you just cut another one, because you usually make some extra when you're doing this. But yeah, it's a sweet detail. But I will definitely show that in a few. I can't believe we've gone, we've gone, this is like since a year ago, May, we started doing Shop Night Lives, and how many projects we've done, and I have not shown how to apply that beading. So that's because we're doing more fundamental projects, but that's nice to add that.
Can you remind Charles what spray you put on that table just a minute ago?
That one I use the Goddard's. That's the cabinet maker's wax. It's the beeswax and lemon oil. So it has a little beeswax. It's nice smelling too. And if you're delivering a piece to someone, it's nice you can hit it with that once you set it in place, and it looks like it's breathing, It's alive, and it just enhances the appearance right at the beginning there.
Did you use a scratch cutter? Does that word mean something?
Scratch stock? No, this is not a scratch stock bead. You can apply you're not really applying a bead, you're incising a bead. You're cutting it into the drawer front. So you could cut a bead into this, but it would be on the same plane. You could scratch stock a bead. It wouldn't be proud of the drawer front. Like a classic hawk beading is always nosed out above. And I like the look of it a lot. Like Pug used to do that a lot on these types of federal tables that were understated, without all the really sweet look.
You ever used a beading tool to make your bead?
I've used handmade ones. I'll make a scratch stock. So I have a number of those. I'll just make them for what I need. In fact, I used it on this chair. Wow, what a nice segue. I want to use this chair just to show you a little bit of the shellac rubbing out method, but this is a classic like Hepplewhite chair, and you can see this has the scratch stock beading right around the whole perimeter, and that's all scratch stock. That's not an applied bead, but it's a sweet look. And anyway, I can't go into how we built this chair. There's a lot of cool complexity to this style of chair. If you look, this is all southern Honduran mahogany, so it's really beautiful wood to work with. But what nice texture, and all this is rounded off nicely. But I'm showing you this chair because it's got simply the shellac finish on it, and the way I finish that is I'll spray that on. I did apply a potassium dichromate to the mahogany just to warm it up and age it a touch. It gives it really a rich color. And then I'll just use shellac, a little amber, like orange in there. And I'll show you that some other time on a project. But then with this, once you get the shellac on there, you can burnish it out with the steel wool. So we were talking earlier about wool lube. I just use it dry. So I'm usually buffing it with the steel wool till I see everything turn to an even matte finish. So you're kind of abrading hard when when it's off the shellac, off the gun. But it's usually laying there pretty smooth, but then now it's really dull. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, we can.
Compared to that. Okay. So let me get a rag here, and I'll show you how the wax goes on. So with a shellac finish, I like using this brie wax because it's one of the better. It gives you a beautiful look, and it rubs out really quickly. And it doesn't leave. It's the least streaking one that I've found. So I'm just going to put a touch on here. It's nasty though, smelling, so it has some dryers in it. So I'm going to just put a little right here. Let's just put it. Now this has coloring in it. You can get it tinted different colors. The link that I provided in the description, which we'll put up right after, is for this color. This is their antique mahogany color, which I think looks awesome on this type of thing, on darker woods, especially if you have carved elements, because if it does get captured or caught in the lower cutouts, it enhances the appearance of depth to carving. So you just let it dry for about a minute, if that. It's really drying fast, and then you buff it off. Now, can you see that? How rich that looks? Are you seeing that? So compared to the unrubbed out right here, and then I'll finish that out because it's bothering me. But you do the same thing. Like this is what I mean in these carved elements, and it would get in there and enhance.
How are those corners connected in the chair back?
Oh, that's a sweet element of this design. The back legs are one piece. They come all the way up here. So it's a wider piece, and then there's actually a tenon on this little lower rail. It goes in here. So there's a seam right there where the back leg continues up all the way from the floor. And then I don't know if you can see, there's a horizontal line right there. You seen that? So there's a tenon on this leg. Back leg goes up into a mortise on the crest rail, which is horizontal this way. So, there you can see the end grain, okay? So that's the flat cut. But these never had that appearance on the front. So even though the flat cut is there, you cheat, and when you mold it and carve it, in this case, you create it so that it appears to be a miter up at the upper corner, even though all the old ones you'll see are horizontal joint. So you have a tenon up into a mortise right there.
Fancy.
Yeah, this is a very involved chair. We made a set at the time. Wow, I think we made at least 8 of them. And this was one. Upholstery is really high end too. Can you hear it crinkle? Let me get it down with the mic. So, you hear that crinkling? That's the hog hair on genuine hand-tied springs. So there's springs in here. So, oh my gosh, this chair. Oh shoot. Oh no, I'm not hurting it. This is so comfortable. And it's elegant. It's got like a real class to it. And the way the back, it's not flat either. It's curves. The whole thing is curving back as well. So this is a challenging chair. This would really test anybody, to build a chair like this with the curves. And it's just amazing how they did it in the 18th century with so little in the way of tools. This one was made in approximately, what was the date on it? I think it was 1820, but maybe 1810.
You have any estimation of how many hours it takes to make that chair?
I don't. I can't remember. But I remember feeling like I underbid it. And they were right around $3,500 a chair. So they were too low. But it was a good experience. So anyway, that's the way we buff out and finalize that shellac, and it's so sweet. I mean, it's so shellac. If you've been around, you know how much I love that finish. So it's a wonderful finish. Now, we'll talk another time about polishing brass and stuff like that, but I was thinking of that. But let's just stick to the finish. You guys have asked some really great questions tonight. Are there any other questions?
No, I'm good on the
All right.
questions.
I want to announce a special little opportunity. We, as I was started out saying how overrun I am with projects and parts and great projects that I had every intention to finish. I really did, Dean. I really did. But I have like 4 of each one. So to get those done before moving on to the next one, to show you something new and fresh and exciting, I'd have to take a couple weeks off between every new course or more than that. And then I'd be in the business of selling all these finished projects. And I have to accept that's not my business anymore. My business is sharing it so you can build the next masterpieces in your style and coming out of you. So I love encouraging you to, in this way, in the craft, and I just want to keep on going where we can get to higher levels, like things like these chairs, and oh man, it's inexhaustible. And then designing your own contemporary pieces. So I'm really excited for that. But I would get bogged down if I tried to finish all the pieces I have in here. So what we decided to do is, rather than me finishing them all, to sell like projects that are partially made. So I have made, and you've got my work, and then you can buy it. It's not technically a kit, like with everything. There's parts that are done, but it will definitely assist you in finishing it. So we're going to post those pieces on Saturday into our store at 10 a.m. We're going to open the store. And I'm telling you, this is a very limited opportunity because I don't have that many. I just want to get them out. So we're going to price them attractively. They're not going to be cheap, but they're going to be an amazing value. Remember value. If you stretch these pieces over, like that bed, that's like a 200-year bed, all right? So we're not talking about like one generation with these pieces that we're making here. We're talking generations. So think about the value. If you bought a car that would last 200 years, it would be worth a lot more to pay up front. So that's what we're talking about. But even at that, it's gonna be a huge bargain. So, and it's all natural wood. So I'll just show you, I'll give you a sneak peek to a few of them. The bed is already gone. That's finished and going to Brian. Before you know it, you're gonna see it. And over here, we've got look at this. I've got 2 more beds here. So this is the footboard that we glued up, and I did all those lamb's tongues already, and I didn't crown. And then I've got the headboard here. These are the head posts. They need the lamb's tongue, so you'd have to do that. But I've got the head rail, and then the side rails are right here, and the headboard, which I may do a little bit more on. And then I have another whole bed that needs a little more, so it'll be priced a little less. So we're going to have 2 of those tapered pencil post beds that are sweet in prime wood. So that's great. And then check this out. I got this blanket chest. This was from season 1 of Classic Woodworking. And look at this, how beautiful the grain is matched going around this, and it wraps right around the whole piece. And all that dovetailing on the corners and the foot. And I love opening this because you get the white pine fragrance. See the bottom? You can look inside. It's a little, got some cherry dust in there. But this is the other cleat that will get attached here. And then you see that white pine bottom. Oh, it's awesome. But that needs to be, final detailed and finished, and then it's yours. So,
Well, it's yours before.
Huh?
It's finished before it's completed.
oh, right, it's yours before it's finished, yeah. I'm not doing the work. And there's a lot of this stuff. So I have 2 of these in this condition. I have a couple hall tables over here. And these I just did these recently where I put all the pegs in. I cut all the incised triangles there. We got a couple tops.
We'll document everything Tom's done
Yeah,
per piece, so you'll see what's left to do.
I've got 2 of these white oak chairs. I know one of these was featured in Fine Woodworking, and I think the other one was on the show, gluing them up. They were both involved. So these don't have a lot to go. One of them needs pegs and finish. But here's the other added bonus to this stuff, is that if you buy a piece that needs work, is going to get finished, you're going to get, if you don't already have, you'll get the drawing, you'll get full access to the video, if it's on the paid side.
The instructional video.
The instructional video, and you will get a half-hour phone consult with me. We'll do it on the phone, or we'll do it with Zoom, whatever. If you're having any problems, we'll go through. So that'll all be in the package, plus the piece. Now, I'm not signing the partially finished pieces, because I don't really have control on the end. Not that I don't fully trust you, but it wouldn't be right for me to sign it before it's finished. But I would write, if you want some kind of certificate of the parts and pieces, I'll write you something and sign that as
Their
part of
name
it.
should be on it anyway.
What's that?
Their name should be on it anyway.
Yeah, they're going to sign it. Yeah, I didn't know. I used to having Pug sign my early pieces. Not that I'm Pug, but where I love the early pieces where we both signed, and he was involved, and he was controlling it too as we got out the end. But check out this tilt-top table. This is actually available, finished. So I'm going to list a few finished pieces. I'm even going to put that chair, that Hepplewhite chair. That would be like the king's chair. I'm going to put that up there. And this is a
Look at that
base.
tabletop. It's so beautiful.
Look at it. This is all needs to be finished up, but you'll have everything you need in the video and the drawing. I mean, look at these are already there. That base is beautifully shaped already. And I may even have another one of these not quite as far along. And you've got the top. Look at that. That's glued up. 3 amazing curly maple. It's made up of 3 boards. And with that finish, you'll get that kind of same look of it. So this needs to be just finished up. So that's another one. And I didn't even put them all out. But that's what I'm confronted with. I had to face the truth that I'm not going to get this stuff done, and it would give me a lot of joy to see it get into your hands. Now, one thing I mentioned, I just want to show you the last bit. The last thing is this coffee table. Oh, I'm going to bring it up to the bench.
Daniel asking if there are videos on the blanket chest build. Yes.
Yes.
If you go again to our website, epicwoodworking.com. Under the online courses, you'll see the blanket chest is an option choice. A project choice. There's
Yeah.
also plans there.
So check it out. I wanted you guys to see this. We never saw the finished
Wow.
Craftsman coffee table. So this is the finished one. It's got those through tenons and on the ends. And we left off on this. I think I just put a little shellac on one spot, and then I got the top on there. This top, it was strange. It had cupped on me for some weird reason, because I resawed it. So I actually cut it all apart again and flattened the boards and re-glued it up so that now it's perfect. But this has, this started out with shellac, like wax-free, and some amber. And on the base, this is like a little hybrid. Rather than getting in here with all the oil varnish, I sprayed a satin lacquer on this base. So you got a nice combination, and then you have the water locks on the top.
A little dusty
Yeah, just a little.
in the shop.
It's been in the shop. That's why I had it under a blanket, and it still gets a little dusty.
Somebody's asking about a shop stool. Do you have any partially made shop stools that are going?
I might, yeah. So, you know what it is? We're going to open the store at 10 a.m. We are going to send out a reminder email in the morning, but it is literally first come, first serve, because it's extremely limited, and it's a good opportunity. And
It's actually, would we like to encourage you to sign up for our mailing list, because you'll get the news through through that email.
Yeah,
if
go
you
to
haven't
Epic
done
Woodworking. EpicWoodworking.com. You can get right on the mailing list, be sure.
There's a link in the description to sign up for our mailing list right below this.
Let me show you the top
Video.
of this. This is the one that's going to Ryan. So,
Isn't that beautiful?
and I had to wait. I waited for the shipper. It's 44 pounds. Look at that top. Isn't that sweet? I mean, it's got a lot of nice quarter sawn figure in here. Some coming in over there. But that ended up being a sweet table. I mean, that is rock solid. But that's the color, that antiquing that is covered in, I forget what issue it is, but it's a fairly recent issue of Fine Woodworking magazine. It actually has that dining chair on the cover, and I'm wiping some finish on it. I think it was $278. I don't know why I remember that. So that's some exciting things. I've been trying to put things together, and I'll take a few pictures of each lot unfinished, some photographs, and then I will describe the condition and what's included and what's done already and what you get. Now, the last thing is, it's tricky if you're at a distance, because shipping it can be costly. Like to ship this table to Indiana is just over $400. That's blanket wrapped. If I was to crate it up and ship it freight, it would probably be the same, because you got to pay for the crate, and then you got to pay for the shipping, and then plus you got to go to the freight company usually and pick up the crate. It's a pain. So, and then it's about the same to ship the bed to Georgia. So, I don't know. If shipping parts around, I could band them together, but building crates and shipping can be expensive. So, if you're nearby or you want to take a drive,
We'd love to visit.
we're here.
Have you here.
Yeah, you can come and get it, and the visit is thrown in, no extra charge. So anyway, I hope you do that. I'm really looking forward to getting these in people's hands who can get them done. So,
Yeah, that'd be great to enjoy them.
so any other questions?
No, I don't see any here.
All right. Well, hope you enjoy that. We talked a lot about those finishing touches and getting things done and moving things out so new things can grow. That's what it's all about right here. So thank you so much for hanging out in the shop. If you got value out of this and you enjoyed this tonight, go ahead and subscribe and share and like and ring the bell. That gets you notified every time we upload some new content. So thanks so much for being here on behalf of the camera lady and myself. We hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday night. And I don't even know what the topic is, but thanks for being here tonight on Shop Night Live. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for the mercy tonight, guys. We'll be back. Easy stead. Take care.